Radio Week 5 days of awards.
5 days of awards.
Inspirations and solutions.
Inspirations and solutions.
Radio Week.
Radio Week 5 days of awards.
5 days of awards.
Inspirations and solutions.
Inspirations and solutions.
Radio Week.
Hello to everyone for this new session. Hello, Nicolas. Nicolas, I let you present this great session.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we continue with the thematic of voice advertising and now entering a debate. So let me introduce our new speakers. Thank you for joining Amaury Deloy from ADNAI. So nice to meet you.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you, Pierre Bouvard, for joining us very early in the morning, I suppose, in the US.
Yes, thank you for having me. Good morning.
Pierre is, to give you a short presentation, of course, don't hesitate to jump in. And I thank you, Katarina, to stay with us after our interesting presentation. Pierre Bouvard is quite, I would say, famous, or at least very known and experienced media executive in this field of data-driven targeting, ROI measurement on cross-platform. He has been working for several years now as a Chief Insight Officer for Cumulus Media and Westwood One, where he developed different supports and insights for a very large network of media sellers. I think there are more than 1,300. So the material is nice and useful, and his work is working with brand and agencies to craft targeting and measurement solutions. And today we'll be talking about voice. He is also experienced working with this as his former work at TiVo, Research and Analytics. And just before, he was working with Arbitron, and he has been launching this portable people meter that we are looking very carefully also in Europe. But this is another subject, very interesting subject as well. Possibly we'll come back to you at that time. And he has been consulting also for many years for different media companies, especially regarding the programming strategy. And Pierre Bouvard is now the chief Amaury is the Chief Operating Officer. Sorry, Amaury is an expert in ad tech native advertising. He has been working also with a lot of US companies, especially in branding and performance marketing, and since a few years he has invested and driven European ad tech companies like Nano Interactive, and he joined lately ADNAI with a voice service provider. A few years ago, if you remember, at Salon de la Radio, we welcomed his CEO, Antoine Créalet, to start talking about voice, which was quite a new topic at that time, and that was quite interesting. So he will explain us how the company evolved, how the solutions evolved, and especially what they are doing in partnership with Energy Digital. Energy Digital, so we invited Cécile de Chambaudry, the manager of Energy Digital, but Energy Global. She could not make it, but she sent us a short video, so we'll be able to get her view just afterwards, and explain together with Amaury how advanced they are in voice. And I think Amaury will tell us a little bit more about a new feature that they are launching, I think today or over the last days. I didn't heard about it. Very interesting one. That will be later on. Okay, so just let's start about the discussion. So I don't know if you had time to attend to this ECTA presentation as we were in the waiting room. Possibly you saw previously this document explaining the different use cases. I would like just to come back on the brands and advertiser sides, and just to get your opinion on why now brands are keen to engage conversation, because now we talk about a two-way dialogue with the media, to engage this conversation with the users using voice and drive action, drive sales using voice devices. Perhaps a few words, Pierre, and we will come back to this use case you just launched today with Ford just later on.
Sure. So your question was what are brands and
are interested to explore this field of voice activated advertising?
Yeah. I think that what we see in the U.S., and I apologize for my American accent and French name in advance. My father was
good combination.
I know. My father was born in France. My mother was born in Italy, but they are dismayed by my American accent. So I'm sorry. Advertisers are excited about audio, everything to do with audio. Podcasting is exploding, and they're very excited about that. They're excited about smart speakers. There's a huge growth. About 1 out of 3 Americans have a smart speaker. They're excited about the possibility of interactive ads. So I think it's a big story about audio, and realizing that that audio is really what makes the TV ads successful. And it's really the core of, obviously, radio and streaming and podcasting. So there's a lot of mega trends that are causing people to get excited about audio.
Okay. Amaury, some additional input on your side?
Sure. I'm not going to add anything about the figures, because I think all the question is about potentials too. They are just exploding everywhere. In France, it's the same. We had 1.7 million in 18. It doubled at the half of the year in 19. We don't have more figures, but it's really growing everywhere. So the potential is one thing. The second one is the real-time ability to send an information and generate an answers. And the other interesting thing, I think, is the fact that you can have some not real time only, because you're going to open the conversation, you can continue later. And I think the most thing advertisers does not usually see, because they try to channel and see in podcast how I can use audio in podcast, how I can use audio in different channels. I think the voice is going to be the unifier of any other channels. And that's where radio is maybe an advance. It's going to permit, because of these developing applications using smart speakers or assistants, will permit to have a global offer anywhere by voice through any channels. And the crazy thing is that, for me, as I come from digital and performance, we can track. We can follow any conversation. So when you have a radio spot and you have a TV spot, or you ask for, you can measure it as it was in the digital, and that's really something incredible.
Mm-hmm. In terms of support, we see from talking about voice that we are not talking only about smart speakers, but everything voice, especially including the voice assistants that are available on phones, especially in cars, regarding radio consumptions. What are, we can say, the best fit for advertisers regarding this space? Pierre, you will expose us a case for a car, but more generally, what do you think could be the best fit for advertisers?
The best fit for advertisers
regarding the support and possibly the mobility of the people, the fact to have this interface available in their pocket, in their device, in their car, the geolocalization possibilities?
Yes, I think the advertisers are waking up and realizing that everything about audio can now be measured. I think historically they worried that digital can be measured and radio can't. So whether it's being able to test your creative, whether it's being able to understand the overlap between streaming and podcast, all of this can now be measured. And I think that's the big excitement for brands and their agencies, is that you can connect cause and effect between exposure and a website visit, or exposure and a sale. And I think the other big story is the collapse of television is causing radio to become one of the last standing mass reach media. So we get excited about targeting, but at the end of the day, you have to reach a lot of people. And radio is becoming, along with outdoor, the last kind of mass reach media.
Mm-hmm. Amaury, regarding this, the place to
So
which
it's
is favorable for advertisers to use voice.
It's a very good question, because I think in your question there are various other points. The first one is probably whom to go, what technology, what platforms. The second one would be where to be, because we are speaking now about where to create the interactions, and after, of course, for what. So our vision at NA is more being very global, because we don't want to segment again something which can be global. So of course, if you go vocal, you need to be on American solutions, which are Google's and Amazon's, but we developed our own technology which permit to generate vocal assistants on the web or on mobiles. So that's permits to not fully be on the GAFAs, but having our own solution you can implement in your website to receive your users, which come digital, or having the interaction on the physical in a shop with some materials we install on stores, which permit to have the same experience. So my first answer is, of course, not going only for once, because there is different usage. And if you do that after, of course, you will have a global coverage. And it's not so complex to make it for us. The second one is after where to be. It's everywhere. It's exactly the same. If you have an interactive audio experience you want to push, a conversation you want to push in between a user and a brand, of course you can have it naturally on the audio radio spots. But imagine if you have it on the TV. We experience actually. We will give you some input about that. Imagine you have it in your billboards. Imagine you have it on your press, and you can activate your vocal experience. This is all about. So after, if you are more depending on your product, of course, you can make a mix or focus. But being global is a key, because you stimulate the usage, which is probably missing today on the market. Many advertisers have invested a lot on global vocalization solutions where users do not use so often. So we believe we should have a global coverage with short interactions, which permit to have something, quick and fast, and not boring to neither following any radios or publications.
Okay, so I understand. So this aspect of interaction, activation is key. I think certainly over the last year, with the circumstances, the drive to store and drive to web, and possibly drive to store move to drive to web at some point of time, regarding the call to actions that encourage the voice advertising. The aspect of geolocalization is certainly also a strong key, and possibly this is the opportunity to talk about a very specific case that you just documented recently, Pierre, regarding the car dealers with Ford, correct?
Yes. And I will quickly bring up my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfectly.
Okay.
Yep.
So very quickly, smart speakers have been growing dramatically in the US. 4 years ago, only 7% of the US had a smart speaker. It's now 35%, so it's grown pretty dramatically. Streaming has also been growing. So this is what percent of total radio listening occurs via the stream. So it's about 11% of total all radio listening that's occurring via the online stream. As you can see, it's higher among the younger demographics. We think this is being driven in part by the smart speaker. At our radio company, this is the share that the smart speaker represents of our stream. So as of November, a quarter of all of our audio streaming at our Cumulus stations came from the smart speaker. So it's grown pretty quickly. The smart speaker owner is incredibly upscale, educated, employed, high income. The indices are off the charts. And when you ask the question, if I'm an advertiser and I want to buy the smart speaker audience, in the US, AM/FM has the largest share on the smart speaker of ad-supported audio, places where you can buy an ad. About a third of all tuning minutes come from AM/FM on a smart speaker. We also found that if you have a smart speaker, you are way more likely to buy a new vehicle, any kind of new vehicle, 26% more likely to buy a new vehicle. So if you're an auto brand, the smart speaker is the place for you because you have a wonderful audience that's going to buy new vehicles. So in one of our local markets, Detroit, anytime a listener asked Alexa or Google Home to play their favorite radio station, Cumulus station, they would receive a 15-second pre-roll ad from the local Ford Dealer Association. And we wanted to measure exposure to this campaign and to see what kind of impact it would have. So we retained a third-party company. The first thing we found is that if you have a smart speaker, you are very likely to be in market for a new car. Just like we saw from the national data, this was validated. Smart speaker owners in this market of Detroit, twice as likely to buy a new car. Ad recall for the Ford Dealer Association was 24% higher among those that were exposed. And most importantly, the likelihood to visit a Ford dealer was 63% higher among those exposed. So very quickly, we're very excited about the smart speaker. It's bringing radio back into the home. So it's a very upscale profile. If you're an auto brand, it's a good place to be. And, we found that a pre-roll campaign really builds, awareness and intent to purchase. So thank you so much.
Well, this is strong data. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Impressive. Possibly we are not still at that level of usage in France, in Europe, but it's quite promising, at least interesting. Okay. Any reaction to this, Katharina? You've seen a lot of use cases all over Europe. Some are quite similar in terms of within the vehicle using geolocation. Is it something you think are starting to be developed as such a campaign in Europe as well?
Yes, we've seen. So the cases I showed was from Germany and UK, but we've heard from other broadcasters, I think also from Spain and other markets that are looking into it. From the European cases that we've seen was actually these kind of more voice interactive ads. So what we've said that would say directly like ask your Alexa to book you the test drive or tell me where it's the nearest dealership. But I think these kind of preloads and things are actually quite a nice in-between step before maybe the radio stations are ready to implement really this technology of interactive ads. It could be a first step for them to try out, to offer to clients as a product. as this kind of pre-rolls or mid-rolls. I think it. I haven't heard of a concrete case study from the European market, but I think it could definitely be a nice kind of in-between step also to do.
Perhaps it's a good way also to introduce now the video of CCL of energy, because I think as it is expressed, the first point and the starting point is to be available on the smart speakers, and then go step to step onto more specific interaction, more content, more conversation. But perhaps just listen to what they are doing at Energy.
L'audio vit actuellement une véritable mutation et est au cœur de l'innovation. Le groupe Énergie est précurseur sur l'audio. Depuis 2005, nous sommes présents avec nos radios musicales digitales. Depuis peu, nous avons développé des applications vocales tant pour Alexa que pour Google Home. Et nous sommes également présents de manière native sur Apple. Grâce aux enceintes connectées, nos auditeurs peuvent retrouver leur radio digitale et même leur podcast directement sur ces enceintes. Pour nous, c'est une véritable opportunité puisque ça nous permet d'accroître l'interactivité et les points de contact avec nos auditeurs. Et pour vous, annonceurs, c'est l'opportunité de bénéficier de nouveaux formats, de nouveaux devices et surtout d'entrer dans une ère où le conversationnel est totalement réinventé. Jamais votre message publicitaire n'a été aussi proche de l'acte d'achat. La voix est le nouveau clic.
So voice is the new click. So that
That's a new claim.
that's the new energy global claim in French. So I hope that for the listeners of this video, you understood that it was subtitled, and I invite you to see it in video. Okay, so this is the general point for the strategy on voice for energy. Possibly, Amaury, you can give us some quite concrete example of what you've been working in partnership with Energy and possibly with other stations. But even starting with a general questions regarding I would say the interest for Energy and for other radio to work in voice. Do you feel they are well positioned as a audio, radio, and digital audio company to work with voice?
So that's a question for me?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to re-say what is radio, but radio is live, is audio, is content, is everywhere, cover all the populations, and most of all permits to interact with closing your eyes and not using your hands. And I can continue to speak. This is something you can have on TV and on digital. So, of course, it's a natural extension. The conversation is a natural extension. So what we've been building with Energy is some interviews with top stars, like you can find Black Eyed Peas, David Guetta, Ava Max, and Pokora, etc. And so we have some micro applications interviews that the user can activate through Alexa, saying, hey, Alexa, launch the Star Energy interviews. And so that the first test we've been doing give us some nice input, which are mainly the followings. We have a very strong interactions on it. We have quite long time of interactions, around 3 minutes. And you have some statistic which are interesting is the time between with screen device or without screen device. And to answer probably your question, I mean, the best answer is the time spent on device which have no screens is multiplied by 3 to 4 compared to one with a screen. So I think that's the best example of what can do a good conversation on audio, and where you can answer anywhere actually, because that could be in your car, that could be walking with your AirPods or whatever.
Okay. Pierre, getting your view about the natural extension of this voice medium for radio working. You've worked in different media, especially in this radio field by Cumulus. Certainly you had a full portfolio of offers, advertising package to propose, why voice and conversation is interesting for radio, an interesting field for radio.
Well, I think for a brand, if a brand cares about reaching people under the age of 60, increasingly it's very hard to do that on linear television. The linear television audiences in the Western world are becoming very old because most people under the age of 60 are watching commercial-free Netflix and things like that. So voice or audio is what makes TV better, and it gets them the reach they need. It's why Procter & Gamble is now the largest advertiser on American radio. They realize that TV alone can't get the reach like they used to. So it's really about reach and helping make, the TV better that they were counting on for that kind of audience.
Uh-huh. Talking about the challenges now, what are the challenges, the typical challenges advertisers and radios are facing regarding voice? What are the limitations or the points of frictions to identify?
Is that for me?
You can start with this one, yes.
Okay. I think the biggest challenge, quite frankly, or the biggest problem that we have has nothing to do with audio or radio or podcast. It has to do with perception. The people that spend the money at the agencies or the advertisers don't understand how everyday people use media. And there's been a number of studies in Canada, in the US, that shows if you ask media decision makers how many people use TikTok, how many people use Instagram, they overestimate time spent with many platforms and actually underestimate time spent with TV and radio. So I think our biggest issue is just a perceptual issue among advertisers and agencies.
Good point.
I have a question regarding, I wanted to ask about the challenges. I mean, it's obvious that this trend is picking up really quickly and it's going to continue worldwide. But what about the challenges? You spoke from the perspective of the agencies. What about the people at home? I mean, are they reticent at all to use this type of technology? For example, are there you hear rumors where people are scared about being eavesdropped on or things like that? How do you explain how they handle that?
Yeah, the thing that the U.S. broadcasters, I think, have done very well is they have aggressively, and I mean aggressively, promoted using the smart speaker and how to use the smart speaker. And so for the last 3 years, you can't listen to any U.S. radio station without the disc jockey saying, if you have a Google Home or you have an Alexa, here's how to. So I think education is crucial, absolutely. No doubt, there are some consumers that will be concerned about privacy, but for the most part, people don't know what to do with a smart speaker. They might ask the time, they might ask the weather, but the great thing about radio is we know how to promote. We know how to get people excited. It's what we do so well. So I think it just takes aggressive and consistent promotion to explain how to use a smart speaker to listen to a radio station.
Okay, thank you. And just, I asked this to Katarina earlier. How do you mentioned earlier that tracking is very easy. Tracking metrics is very easy. You can justify and prove the ROI on the investment. Do you feel that's to a certain level that you're satisfied with, or does that need to advance? Does the technology need to advance on that?
Well, look, at the end of the day, you have to be known before you're needed. An advertiser has to create awareness among consumers before they go search online. So, the question is, can we measure if a audio campaign or smart speaker campaign or podcast campaign built, awareness and brand equity. And there are many, many companies that can do, those kind of studies. So that would be number one, is can we measure brand equity? Number two is, can we measure whether the listener went to the website? And there's a whole host of companies that have sprung up, LeadsRx, a number of others, Veritone, that can connect the dots between I heard the podcast ad, or I heard the ad in the stream, and then I went to the website.
Thank you.
So I think the point is really exactly what is saying Pierre. Imagine, the new promise today, thanks of the audio, is that usually when you push a product, you say, go to the shop, type the www, or go to my social pages. Mm-hmm. Now they can implement by text the activation which permits to enter in the audio universe. So if they want to have traffic, they need to work to have this traffic and those usage. What we've been really working is, instead of going large vocalization services, is to go really tight with, like we call deep URL, which permits to directly have on a product a promise which goes to a conversation. So for cars, you hear about a new Volvo whatever, and you can try the Volvo whatever by saying, okay, Google, try the Volvo XC90, and you engage automatically. And this activation has to be done everywhere to be sure all the users start to move from the limited usage of audio, meteo, or activation of some domotics to all the other usage we're just starting to deploy. We had the example with a campaign we pushed, which has been enhanced with a vocal, which was a TV campaign for TikTok, the group Ferrero, and for just one TV campaign, there were a quiz which was playing with TikTok musics. Just the TV with the activation, audio activation, permits to have 200,000 subscriptions, 600,000 users, 5 minutes, 3 minutes or something interactions. And it has been the first application, vocal application on the ranks. So just with one campaign, which was in France, a small campaign, small TV, vocal activated, which is, so the potential is just enormous. So to go back on your first question, I think the main challenge is that they just try to have some dedicated applications through vocal, because it's not complex to set up. It's not long complex. Usually I hear people which tell me, I don't have the resources I would really like to go in, but I don't have the time. I'm restructuring myself. They don't need, actually. It's a conversation. A good conversation is 4 levels with 2 to 3 answers in the conversations. It takes, 10 days to define in between 2 guys? And after, we can make that on the formats and spread it all over the world. So it's just not a question of resources. It's a question of desire to enter in the vocal and to try it. I know American goes for it, French are a bit slower, but they will come on it, it's sure.
Can we listen to the TV ads, Philippe? I think you are.
Yeah, with the ad, the French are always a slow starter. Let's check at the ad.
So yeah, so you have here normal TV, which goes on the, which could be radio.
Tic-tac, c'est frais et pas seulement. En ce moment, dites OK Google, parlez à Tic Tac Music pour gagner des Google Home et de nombreux cadeaux.
OK Google, parlez à Tic Tac Music.
Salut, je suis Tic Tac Music. En jouant avec moi, vous allez pouvoir tester vos connaissances musicales. Si vous cherchez une expérience fraîche et fun et vibrer au rythme de la
If you can, yeah, it's very basical. It's just simple. It's just a new actions you can do in your sofa, in your anywhere you hear or see something or read even. So that is really, I think, something incredible. Compared, the market is the global communication market, not only the digital or radio one. And I think if the radio sellers start to push that to their advertisers, I mean, they are going to offer them the vocal extension for all of the channels, which is super strong. I mean, radio can be now the leader of a new digital interaction, vocal interaction, which is a bit digital, but and being ahead of the one which are more on the digital or the TV. So that's a great chance for radio.
It's impressive, very interactive, and it also touches again on the.
To wrap, no, correct, Marguerite. I think we are finishing this this session.
Yes.
Possibly just a last questions about any advice. I will call it a sound advice for this year, and a little bit for the radio to understand what could be the next step to go when they want to develop this voice strategy. Starting with you, Pierre, perhaps.
I would just say, test and learn. Try something and then measure it.
Very good.
Yeah, and as American would say, I would say, make it simple. And this is simple. So try it, make it simple, make it global, of course. Don't think just a little thing on the podcast. Make it global directly. It's the same effort. And after, look at what it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Katarina?
Yeah, I agree. I think since it's quite early on and radio is really well positioned, since, as I mentioned, people really already listen or use smart speakers to listen to music and radio. So radio really is in a position to experiment, try out new things, and really kind of learn by going. And as was mentioned, it really could be really the leader in this voice advertising, because it has the unique position that it actually can have the voice advertising, unlike any other things. And yeah, so I would say experiment with it, and also educating the listeners. I think that's really important to promote it on radio and have them know how to access the radio skills and the options that it offers, so they know that it's not just about asking a timer, but that they can do all the things that are open to them.
Leverage the power of radio, leverage the reach of radio. Okay,
Exactly.
so we'll come back to certainly the conclusion of Cécile. Voice is the new click, and I will close here the session for you, Margaret.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Thank you, Pierre. Thank you, Katarina.
Thank you all. Talk to you
Thank
soon.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Bye.
very much. You can maybe stay 1 second. We're going to give an award. So there's an award that is supposed to be given, I think, or you want? Yeah, I think we do it now, Margaret.
Yeah, let's do it now. Yeah,
let's do it now.
Okay.
Just 1 minute for the award, the last award of the day, and then we'll have three tomorrow, I think, and two on Friday, if I'm correct.
That's right, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see who is the RedTech award, the second of the day. Let's check it out. Neo Group screener.
Congratulations to Neo Group, Philippe Alain and team. And the Neo Screener is a unified call streaming software suite combination that uses Neo Screener and Neo Screen Smart. And basically what it does is it lets staff operate phone calls and a phone system that's located in the studio, but from anywhere they want to be. So it's particularly timely right now. And when staff is at home, they can still operate the phone system in the studio. Congratulations, Neo Group.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much for Nicolas, for Pierre Bouvard. That's a French name, it's true, and it's a very famous presenter in France, So
everyone tells.
We could imagine how hard it is to say when people are talking to you in French. Okay, thank you very much, all. We just meet tomorrow. Maybe just announce a little the program of tomorrow. We're going to talk. What are we going to talk tomorrow? What is the topic tomorrow?
The topic of the day is voice and music. This is more the content part of the week, and we'll have a keynote by a company, interesting one in France, which is a kind of spin-off of a research center called IRCAM, which is a center by Georges Pompidou in Paris that is really at the very beginning of all the electronic music movement and research about on this. And they have a spin-off with very interesting innovation, mixing voice, artificial voice, music, algorithm, recommendation. So we'll have a discussion with her CEO. And afterwards, we'll have possibly Margaret, I let you introduce this, but a very interesting RedTech talk regarding COVID.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about the role of radio and digital audio and how it's helping the audiences during COVID. We've got some really interesting speakers from many different countries tomorrow. So please tune into that. 2:25 Paris time it starts. So we look forward to that tomorrow. We're not going to tell you who's going to be there. You can look at the program.
You can check out on connectonair.com. Of course, you can watch immediately this video on connectonair.com and on our YouTube channel. It's already available. Thank you very much all. Thank you, Amaury. Thank you, Pierre. Thank you, Katerina. And hope to meet you some days in some exhibition if that will exist in the future again.
Okay, see you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.
And a little music to finish. Bye.
Radio Week 5 days of awards.
5 days of awards.
Inspirations and solutions.
Inspiration.